The Culture Pop Podcast is brought to you by the law offices of Jacob Emrani.
Accident or injury, call Jacob Emrani. Call Jacob.
Hey, it's Mase. If you or a friend or loved one is injured in an accident, the first person you should call is my friend Jacob. When I did this, Jacob was great. He helped me by talking through the next steps, which really put my mind at ease. When you're injured in an accident, you got to have an expert. That's why you call Jacob, just like I did. Call Jacob, 844-24-JACOB. That's 844-24-JACOB, or visit calljacob.com.
Call Jacob.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Culture Pop Podcast. I'm Steve Mason, along with Sue 𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬. This is the show where we talk about everything happening in the world of pop culture. Great guest today, Jesse L. Martin from the original Broadway cast of Rent. His series right now is called The Irrational. It's on NBC. Terrific show. But first, this is also the show where we talk about everything that happened at my house on Friday night. Sue Ballou, you were at my birthday party.
Yes, I was. It was spectacular.
Thank you.
Your place looks great. I know
Thank
you went through a little transformation. Decorated, beautiful, great guests. And as John Ireland pointed out in his speech to you, you have an eclectic group of friends.
Yes, it is and you know what? It was honestly like an episode of This Is Your Life, because I had people from all aspects of my life. Stuff I won't say on the radio, but it's good for a podcast. My very first boyfriend was there.
I met him
back to 1988. Crazy, right?
He came over and introduced himself to me.
He knows the podcast. He listens to and watches the podcast. So he asked me, where's Sue 𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬? I want to meet Sue 𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬, which I thought was fantastic. So I'll tell this story. Carlo Cicchetto, who's been the anchor at Channel 8 in San Diego for almost 20 years, was an intern with Dave Singer for me and John back in the 90s. He was there, which was crazy. Stuart Benjamin, who I own movie theaters with, movie producer, produced Ray and Officer and a Gentleman, bunch of stuff with Taylor Hackford. He was there along with his girlfriend, Tasha Taylor, great soul singer. I mean, it was just like, it was such a crazy. Deacon Fry. Did you meet Deacon Fry?
I did not.
Deacon Fry is Glenn Fry's kid. Who now plays the Glenn Fry part, plays his guitar and sings the Glenn Fry part in the Eagles at Sphere and as they tour around the country, which was super cool. And at one point, there was me, O'Shea Jackson Jr., and Deacon Fry, and I thought, okay, I'm with Ice Cube's kid and Glenn Fry's kid on my back patio where Chris Ward is serving up plenty. Did you get any of the cannabis that was floating around?
I opted not to smoke it because the last time I smoked pot that didn't come from my house, I got
you lost it?
Oh, well, I couldn't drive, and Tom was not very happy with me because I was the designated driver.
My friend Ben Fleet had a good time, a really, really good time, like terrific time. He came back and got his car the next morning.
Well, who was walking around with the water pipe?
That was Chris Ward, brother Chris, from the Green Cross in Torrance, who's like our regular guy for weed at 710. And there he is. He was making sure everybody felt good, felt a little comfortably numb at the party. It was so much fun. I had such a great time. It was the best party we've ever thrown. Juan and I agree. And Juan should get most of the no, you should get all the credit. Honestly, you should get all the credit for making the place look like it did. I'll tell you what kind of person he is. So you notice we had those little tea lights all over the house and yard and stuff. After the party, he said, we're going to turn all those tea lights off and put them back in a box. And I'm like, all right. So I did it for about an hour. He ended up turning off and packing away 1,200 tea lights. I'm like,
oh my God,
it's insane. I ate nothing but cake this weekend. There was so much delicious cake. I think I pooped icing. And I also I also got so many. I said, don't send me any gifts. Everybody brought a gift. So many people brought gifts. So there's like a table full of, there's so much booze here now. And so much weed. People brought weed and booze as gifts.
Yeah. Well, it's your 60th birthday.
Yes.
So it's a very special birthday. I know that you say, no gifts, and I'm not even saying that you wanted gifts. I totally believe that you were like, no gifts.
Oh yeah.
But as a guest to your party, there's no way in the world I would show up empty-handed and not buy you something. So
yeah, I know. That's very sweet. Very sweet.
So my experience at your party was that there were a handful of people that came over and told me they wanted to be on the show.
Well, I don't blame. This is a hot show. I don't blame them. So who is on this list of people that want to be on the show?
Okay, so Mike Thompson,
who was my program director for quite a few years, is a great guy. Fascinating, knows radio inside out. I credit him to a great degree for sort of who I've become on the air. I think he kind of unleashed me. But I don't know that Mike is necessarily going to be on the show, but he should stay in touch with you.
Well, you know what? He told some great stories to Tom and I, and he knows a lot about Long Island. He lived in Long Island.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
He lived in Huntington, there was a comedy club there called the East Side Comedy Club, where Eddie Murphy played, and a lot of the Long Island guys who got their start.
Sure.
Carol Leifer played there. Anyway, everybody played. Soupy Sales played there. I mean, it was crazy.
Oh wow, going way back.
So it was really the only club in Long Island for a long time. So he knew the East Side Comedy Club, and he kind of reminded me of Mickey Rooney a little bit.
Mickey Rooney. Well, here's the thing
just the way he looks.
Here's the thing about he used to be a big, gigantic guy. He's probably lost 100 pounds from where he was when I worked for him. And, he became kind of an actor on the side. And there's a T-Mobile commercial that ran all last football season. The very first thing you see is Mike Thompson's face as he's running out of a tunnel. And every time I watched the game, I was like, there's Mike. There's Mike again. He said it was a buyout, didn't make a lot of money, but he certainly gained some fame for that. But why don't you stay in touch with Mike?
I will.
And we'll try to work something out.
Okay. So Mike Thompson, he didn't flat out corner me and say, or, want to be on the show. Kevin, the photographer.
Kevin Reese. Yeah, Kevin Reese.
He seeked me out for two reasons. One reason, he wanted to know how much of a Mets fan I truly am.
Oh.
And he challenged me to see if I knew the Mets song. The Meet the Mets.
That's Meet the Mets.
Yeah. That's great, the Mets. So we sang that together. So I proved to him that I am worthy of being a very loyal, longtime Mets fan.
Excellent.
And I think the main reason why he seeked me out is because he wants to be on the show. And he told me that he's been talking to you about it for a while, and you keep on telling him no. So
I've not said no. I just haven't said yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
I haven't said no. I just haven't said yes.
I get it. So he said to me, well, what do you think? And what am I going to say? I don't know. I don't think he should be on the show. I don't really know much about him, but I do know that he is an amazing sports photographer. And
incredible.
His career, just to talk about his career, I would think would be very interesting. He's a very personable guy.
He is, yes.
Definitely has
lovely wife, Kathy, beautiful.
Was she there?
She didn't make it, but she's great. She's great.
He brought a picture of her. No, I'm only kidding.
Yes.
That he took.
No, he's done some really neat stuff. Like he took a picture of Juan and I at the Super Bowl without us knowing. So it's a totally candid shot of us at the Super Bowl watching the game, which is a great, great picture. But all right. Well, why don't you stay in touch with Kevin?
Okay.
I put you together on text.
Right. Well, the funny thing is that you told me later in the night that he came over to you and told you I talked to Sue, and Sue said that she can get me on the show.
That's why I linked you together on text so you guys can stay in touch. Now, does that mean you think we should do a show with Kevin and Mike Thompson?
I didn't say
Be
that.
a very unusual show. but it would be interesting.
The two of them come on together?
Yes, the two of them come on together.
Oh,
that'd be great.
Fun.
Yeah,
I think that could be fun. And Pepe.
Oh my God, Pepe Mantilla is and he's not been on the show. He was actually booked at one point, and then I didn't. But I would have Pepe on the show in a minute.
He is a movie freak.
Yes, he is.
And he likes a lot of old movies. So I guess because I'm older than you, he really wanted to talk to me about movies to see what movies I knew.
Yes.
And he said, we talked for a while, and then I don't know, it got interrupted, and he says, I'm going to come find you later, and I really want to ask you some questions. And it never happened. And I mean, I hope he doesn't think that I didn't want to talk to him, because I did.
No.
And he came over to me and he said, you don't know me, but I know you. And I said, I know who you are. So.
Yeah. Now, should I put you guys together on text so you can work out a date for the show?
Don't we have a booker for that, don't we?
We do have a booker, yes. I'll put that into her hands. But I'll also put you together so they can get with you. Yeah, no, I would. Pepe has been. I've invited him onto the show. We had to back out of it one time. I should have Pepe on. He is an absolute legend, nicest guy in the world. Knows his movies. Is always texting me about this movie or that movie. He does like the olden timey movies like you do. And when we do Game of Games, he always has a question about some random old timey actress like Claudette Colbert. Or out of the blue, it'll be Myrna Loy.
Carol Lombard.
Yeah, exactly. He's going way back.
Lillian Gish.
There you go. You can't go further back than that. I thought just really a cool, eclectic group. I could not have been happier. And then at the end of the night, the last people there were me, Juan, my friends Morgan and Shane, Deacon Fry, and his friend Cameron, who really wants to work in sports analytics department, and O'Shea.
I was just gonna say O'Shea definitely.
Oh my God,
there.
we laughed so much at the end.
He's
of the
great.
night.
I saw him and he came over, and I was walking by him and he was like, and he came and gave me a big hug, and then we talked a bit. There was one of the guys from the fantasy baseball who
it was Jason.
Jason, the Asian
Chu?
guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jason said, I know you, and then I realized who it was, and then I joked with Shay about how he abandoned me when I belonged on. We were supposed to be partners.
Correct.
And then he started laughing, and we had a good time.
By the way, it doesn't matter because Jason always wins. I think he's won our league 6 years in a row now. We cannot figure out what he's doing except to think maybe this is his full-time job. Like maybe he does nothing else but play in our fantasy baseball league. He's so friggin' good. So I thought all in all, I was so happy. And the amazing thing is Juan afterwards said, I think we should have another party.
Yeah, your parties are great.
Yeah. Well, he wants to have one on New Year's Day, which is our 20th anniversary.
Okay.
It's weird because he turned 50 in November. I turned 60 in March. And then we turn 20 years on January 1st. So there are all these landmark things. And I don't care what anybody says. You hit one of those big numbers, it does change your perspective a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like 60 does change my perspective. Not for better or worse, but it just changes my view of the world. And it was nice to see people from different parts of my life all coming together. It's really, really cool night.
So a while ago, you've been kind of threatening to go shirtless after you turn 60.
Correct.
To show everybody the buffness that has become Steve Mason.
Yes. And it is impressive.
So when is that going to be revealed?
It's a good question. No, I'm not going to do
I posted that on my Facebook page, and Rick Siegel, who was your old manager.
Rick Siegel, yes.
When I said Steve was going to go shirtless, he wrote, just him? I said, I made no promises.
Tell you what, Rick Siegel was a hell of a good manager. He was.
He's a good guy, Rick.
He was tough to shake, but he was a good manager.
He's a character, but he's a good guy.
Oh my God, yeah, he is. So that was I just so friggin' happy. And you know where we're going to be on Saturday? This is going to come out on Wednesday. You know where we're going to be on Saturday?
I do not know.
Saturday Night Live.
Oh, cool.
We're going to
How'd you
SNL.
get tickets? How'd you get tickets?
A friend of ours is a producer on the
Great.
show. So it's Mikey Madison and Morgan Wallen on Saturday. So we're going to go to New York, see Saturday Night Live. I'm on vacation next week. Then we're going to go see Sunset Boulevard with Nicole Scherzinger, Gypsy with Audra McDonald, and Othello with Denzel Washington. So that's the game plan. Then we're flying to Vegas, and we're going to go see the Eagles at Sphere. It's
Wow.
going to be a monster wild week. I'm continuing to sort of celebrate my birthday with this next week. Doing a bunch of big stuff. So speaking of big stuff, why don't we do a little pop culture here, since that's the show. This is the show where we talk about everything happening in the world of pop culture. You watching White Lotus?
Yes, I am.
Episode 6 was last night episode. So there's 2 more episodes. And what's your general take on the series right now?
I really like it. It was a little bit of a slow burn. Like the first episode, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I really care about any of these characters. And then it just started getting better and better. Because I was thinking, well, it's kind of the way it's been. I mean, I kind of felt that way with every season. You know?
I feel like I said to Juan last night, I said it's kind of like a weird version of the Love Boat. Like every year there's a resort and there are different people there, and you follow and they're all obnoxious and entitled and wealthy and want things their way. They're awful people. And so I feel better about myself when I watch White Lotus.
Yeah.
The cast is crazy good.
The cast is great. And I like a lot of the side stories too, with like the guard with the gun, and then his relationship with that young woman. Like, what else is going to happen there? I love Sam Rockwell's character.
Oh my God, Sam Rockwell's character. That monologue he does about wanting to be an Asian girl is just like crazy.
And I'm wondering if Mike White didn't give Walton Goggins that monologue in the script and just let Sam Rockwell just do it, because his reaction to that monologue was like, it was so real, to the point where maybe he didn't know he was going to say everything that he said.
So you think Walton Goggins might have not even known what was coming?
Maybe not. I don't know.
So apparently he's with Leslie Bibb. That's his
wife.
I don't know. It's his wife? Yeah.
I think they're married.
And she's, by the way, Leslie Bibb, Michelle Monaghan, and Carrie Coon as those 3. And that relationship has just totally cratered. Like once Michelle Monaghan slept with Valentine, it was like, oh, it's over. It's over between them, because I think Carrie Coon had her eyes on him. The other weird story, and I hope the weird thing with the brothers is just like super creepy.
So creepy.
And I don't know where it goes, because at this point, let me see. I mean, Greg, who's from last season and killed Tanya, who's obviously Jennifer Coolidge, played by John Grease.
He's been in every season.
Was he in season 1?
Yes, he was with her.
He's the only guy
1.
in all 3? Wow. So he's setting up that dinner party, and Belinda's going to be there, and Belinda knows the truth. And Tim is going to be there, Jason Isaacs, who's lost everything, and Victoria, hilariously played by Parker Posey. Saxon is Schwarzenegger. Lachlan is played by a kid named Sam Navola. And those guys just had sex with Greg's wife, and now they're going to Greg's house for dinner. The question is, we know there's a lot of shooting. We saw the flash forward in episode 1. We have no idea. There are 2 episodes left. But if you were to guess who's shooting, who do you think it is in the final episode? You got to put it together.
I know, because, in the first episode, they make you think that it's the black woman.
Correct, Belinda.
They make you think that it's Belinda, right?
Yep.
So now the gun is with the guard.
With 𝐻𝐸𝐸,
right?
the guard, yes.
𝐻𝐸𝐸, he has the gun now.
Yep.
And
Rick also has a gun. He's in Bangkok, but Rick also has a gun.
Rick has a gun.
And I think there are multiple gun shooting in that flash forward.
Maybe Greg, maybe Greg gets it. I don't know.
I think 𝐻𝐸𝐸 is one of the shooters, right? Because he's just learning to use his gun. He lost it. He got it back. I think he's got to be. And so somebody's shooting, and then 𝐻𝐸𝐸 has to come to the rescue. I think the shooter is going to wind up being Saxon, the Patrick Schwarzenegger character.
Yeah. I was just going to say it could be him. Like,
he's such a dick.
He is such a dick. And when Rick comes back, he may think that Saxon had something to do with his girlfriend. I don't know.
Right.
And he hates Saxon. That was established early on that he hated him.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't know.
There's an interesting thread of spirituality through this.
Yeah.
Like when Tim, again, Jason Isaacs, goes to meet the monk at the monastery where his daughter is going to live, he tells a story. And what's weird about it, it is my view of life also. And I'm paraphrasing. Each of us is a drop of water flying up from an ocean of consciousness. When we die, that drop of water falls back to the ocean and returns to this universal consciousness. And it seems to give Tim some real peace of mind, despite what's about to happen. But that is sort of my view of what life is and what life's about.
Well, I think it's also, after his meeting with the monk, gave him a little more insight into maybe how he really feels about his wife after all the things that she's been saying. Like when she admitted that with no money, she wouldn't want to live.
Right.
So, I mean, and all these like visions that he has.
Right. And by the way, she is so funny. She doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know she thinks she's
Taiwan.
She thinks she's in Taiwan.
You want to live in Taiwan? And no one corrects her, which is so funny to me, but so typical of having a mother who always says the wrong thing. They probably just let her be crazy.
Yeah.
There goes mom again,
Yep. I think really memorable characters, really memorable storyline. I can't wait to see how it ends. And I put this on par with the other seasons. Some people don't like this season. I put it on par. It's all obnoxious people, just like season 2, just like season 1. Yes, you don't have Jennifer Coolidge, but you've got weird characters to replace them. I am a big fan of season 3.
Me too. And Patrick Schwarzenegger, I've never seen him in anything. Have you?
No. I've seen him at Laker games. That's the extent of it.
He plays such a great asshole.
What a douche. What a fucking douche he is.
He is the worst.
The worst.
And it's so, I love the fact that they gave him a blender to make shakes because it adds so much to his doucheness with the noise. And, he's a disruptor,
Yeah, he is. Somebody online wrote that the protein drinks, if you really put them in the blender that long, they would turn to muck. But he runs that blender a long time. And it's kind of to annoy people.
Yes, totally.
Oh, God. I think that's just a fun show. You had one other thing about Jennifer Lopez.
So, I'm reading about how Jennifer Lopez has announced that she's ready to date again.
Oh, good for her.
Right? Like, she cannot help but date again. So she apparently has a crush. This is like her new thing. She has a crush on a character in Yellowstone. The character's name is Rip Wheeler.
Who plays it? Wes Bentley?
No, Cole Hauser.
Oh, Cole Hauser, yeah.
Who apparently is best friends with Ben Affleck.
Oh, my God. Come on, right? Jennifer Lopez.
So she's talking about this Rip Wheeler character. Like, I love the way he treats his on-screen love interest, and I want someone like him. It's like, she's crazy. I mean, she is insane.
Now, she is a serial monogamist. Would you agree with that? She's somebody that I think needs to be in a relationship.
Oh, no, totally. Oh, God, yes. I mean, she was just with Kevin Costner. And
was she really?
Yes, for like a very, very short period of time.
Hell?
Like,
really?
blink and it's over. Yeah,
wow.
So she was apparently with him, and she was saying how whoever the source is, they're not, revealing who they are. They said that she's thinking about expanding her dating pool to include not just celebrities, but actual fictional character.
Yeah, right. A fictional character. Yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
Okay.
Crazy.
Okay, so I have to admit, I think it was when I was working on Sex and the City,
yep.
I used to drive past this billboard.
Okay.
To and from coming home. Going and coming. And it was an ad. It wasn't an ad for a TV series. But it was an ad for I don't even remember what it was for, but there were 4 people in the ad, and one of the guys was really, really handsome.
Okay.
And I had a major crush on the guy on the billboard.
On the billboard?
Guy on the billboard.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to my writing partner and saying, like, I want to find out who he is, because he's really cute. And then we joked about, oh, God, that would be a funny storyline. If we ever went back to Sex and the City, it would be a funny storyline for one of the characters
a good storyline,
to try to seek out who this guy is. So I kind of get that you have an idea of what you want in a person.
Yes.
But she apparently has a crush on the character.
See, I have a crush on Neo from The Matrix. I would take that red pill right away.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a big Keanu Reeves. I've always been a big Keanu Reeves. By the way, I heard Keanu Reeves is like the nicest guy in the world.
Apparently he is.
Yeah. Who did I just hear was an asshole? I just heard somebody was an asshole. Oh, Jason Sudeikis.
Yes,
supposed
I
to
heard
be an
that
asshole.
too. And, when you think of, talk about a character.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. How could you be an asshole and be Ted Lasso?
Yeah, that was very disappointing.
I totally agree.
By the way, they're coming back with Ted Lasso season 4. I didn't like season 3.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about season 3.
It's gotten too fucking happy. I need to have like a little bit of an edge to my show. There's no edge there. So anyway, it's coming back for season 4. I thought it was smart to quit it after 3. All right, there you have it. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, definitely hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment, a review, a theory about what you think is going to happen in the finale of White Lotus would be good. If you're listening on Apple or on Spotify or on any of those platforms, subscribe to the show. Big points if you leave us a 5-star rating and a review. And you've got friends that would be into this. Tell them about the show and tell them how to get it. Say hi to Mike Thompson, Kevin Reese, Pepe Mantilla. Exactly. All right, here we go. Our guest today first became a star in the original Broadway production of Rent. He was a series regular on Law & Order for 9 years. He also starred on shows like Smash, Ally McBeal, and The Flash. His current project is The Irrational. Tuesday nights at 10 on NBC. Jesse L. Martin joins us. Jesse, thanks a lot for coming on to the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, huge fan of The Irrational, and by the way, have seen Rent so many times, including seeing you twice do it. So I definitely want to ask you a little bit about that. Huge.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Yeah. So on The Irrational, you play a behavioral science expert, and you're out there solving crimes. Did you know anything about behavioral science before you started this?
Absolutely nothing, honestly. What I can say is that being an actor, part of our job is to observe human behavior and mirror it in whatever medium we're working in. But the science behind it, not at all. Not at all. Like the terms that they have for different ways of viewing things or behavior, I had no idea. No idea. But I got to read Dan Ariely's book, which this character is loosely based on, and it gave me a lot of insight as to the science behind our behaviors.
I mean, it's such a compelling aspect of crime, the whole irrational behavior part of it. And, how close is it to temporary insanity? Is there a connection there?
Well, certainly. I mean, I think temporary insanity is subjective. First of all, like when and the notion of, do you decide to be crazy, or do you suddenly just get overwhelmed with insanity and it causes this irrational behavior, right? I think a lot of the work that Alec Mercer, the character I play, does isn't just the extremes where it leads to a major crime or homicide, if you will. A lot of it has to do with his day-to-day experiences with people in his life, like his sister or his ex-wife or his now new girlfriend or his students, where he's noticing little behaviors that sort of give stories or gives away what might be true or what might not be true. Like I spent an entire episode as Alec Mercer watching my students, and I realized that two of my students were obviously having some sort of romance, and they of course thought they were hiding it from me, but little behaviors told me that there's something going on there. And then at some point they felt really guilty about it. And one of my brightest students comes to me and she wants to confess the fact that her and one of my research assistants have had a bit of a romance, or were enjoying a bit of a romance. And of course they immediately and very simply said, "Yes, I know." And she goes, "Oh God, of course you know."
So you mentioned there are like these little micro expressions and like little tips and tells that people have. Now I play poker.
I was just going to bring that up.
Is there anything I can use from the Irrational that will help me if I'm playing 2-7 offsuit or if I'm playing pocket aces?
Well, I mean, if you're a real big poker fan, you already know some of these things. You know, they call them tells, right?
Yep.
Some of them, when people are being untruthful or unsure, a lot of little tics happen. I mean, you start doing things like this. Apparently because the capillaries in your nose start to expand, so it's itchy. When somebody's maybe not being truthful or not sure of what they're saying, there's a tendency to do this. It's almost like hiding the voice that wants to come out. And when people are being untruthful, they usually have a hardcore focus, meaning their eyes are locked because you want people to believe what you're saying, and you think that happens through the eyes. Most people, when they're just talking randomly, their eyes go everywhere. They occasionally rest on other eyes, or they move around, and they're very, very expressive. When things are untrue or not sure, because it's important to say unsure, because sometimes it doesn't indicate a lie. It just indicates something's not right. That focus will tell you. And poker's a whole different animal, right? Because everybody has a stance, if you will, like a way of playing that sort of, the whole point is not giving away what you have and what you're doing. So it's how often do you deal with people who are very good at tells? Are you good at them?
I am pretty good at them. Now you mentioned a stance. Like there's a particular way I play a hand where I try not to give anything away. Right. But sometimes I think when somebody's trying not to give something away, they're still doing something that is a tell. It's either it's a glance or it's a look, or maybe they say something at the table when they've got a good hand or not a good hand. I mean, there are little things you can read over a period of time if you're at a table with a bunch of people. Now, I'm curious with you in life, are you able to tell in real life if somebody is lying or twisting the truth?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have that. I mean, I don't have any superpowers. And even playing this role and getting the knowledge that I've been getting, I still don't have any superpowers. And I'm also entirely human, where I don't want to sit around staring at people trying to figure out whether they're telling me the truth or not. I literally want to live in a space where I believe, what people tell me, or not in a simple way or a naive way, but I kind of just want to live and not be so observant. One of the funny things that happens on the show playing Alec Mercer is I get in a lot of trouble because I'm spending a lot of time analyzing behavior and I'm not necessarily engaged when I should be. The girl that plays the woman that plays my sister on the show, Trevina Springer, she's very quick to point out when I'm doing too much as a behavioral psychologist, and she just wants me to be regular old Alec.
Kind of like snap out of it. Snap
out
of
it. We're not doing that right now.
Well, I would think that that's a hard thing to pull back on. I have a cousin who's a psychiatrist. And
Yeah.
when I hang out with him, I always feel like he's like looking at me and trying to figure things out. And it's like, Danny, we're talking about baseball. Just like let it go. You know what I mean?
Riddle me this though. When you're hanging out with that person, are they doing things that make you feel like you're being psychoanalyzed, or is that because you have the knowledge that they are a psychiatrist? Do you suddenly think no matter what, they're analyzing me, they're judging me?
I feel like he is analyzing me because sometimes there's a delay in the conversation.
Interesting. Okay.
So he's taking something in.
Right.
But I wanted to know, like, do you feel that irrational behavior could it be a one-off in somebody's makeup? Because, someone could be hangry. Is that irrational behavior? Does it have to do with the food they eat, their upbringing? What determines, is it that simple to figure out?
Well, no, I mean, I think, and yes, by the way, I'll explain. I think, and you know this too, I'm no expert. Everybody's capable of irrational behavior, whether they be big moments where the irrational behavior led to you taking someone's life, or small moments where you're in the car, somebody cut you off, and you did something absolutely crazy that is not in your character normally, but you lost your whole mind in the car. Now, if anybody was to see that behavior, let's just say you had a camera in your car, people were able to look at you at any given moment, and at that moment, they would, like your cousin, you said it was your cousin, right? Like, would be like, she's absolutely crazy. Now, that's one moment. Doesn't make you absolutely crazy, but everybody has those irrational moments. The best thing about our show, and the reason I'm there, is because we deal with irrational moments that lead to big problems, oftentimes homicide.
Right.
So,
right.
So I was going to say the show reminds me of, and this is going back a few years. Actually, I'm going back to even before me because I've watched reruns of this, but it reminds me a little bit of Columbo because he's got that sort of, he's not obviously doing behavioral science, but he does have the ability to read people, and it gives me that sort of vibe. And, Peter Falk was just absolutely amazing. I watched these old shows of his, and it's incredible. Do you see that comparison between a show like yours and a show like Columbo?
I could totally understand where you're coming from on that. And you did go way, 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 way,
way. That is before me, by the way. Columbo comes before me.
But I understand where you're coming from. And that's very true in, the trope when it comes to entertainment of detectives in general. Like, the whole point is you're supposed to be able to look at people, look at behavior, particularly out in the field. When you're in the streets, you're watching people, you're seeing how they behave, if things are off, if things are weird. And detectives are trained that way. We also get the same thing, if you go through TSA in the airports, people are trained to look at you to see how you're behaving. And I think it is something that's part of the job. And I think it's a superpower that all of us actually have. If you really just start paying attention, you could see when something's off, or somebody's not necessarily telling the truth, or somebody's being very, very shady about something. It's what you do with that information that makes us the professionals.
Do I think I know. I'm pretty good at when someone is lying to me when they give too much information as an excuse for why they're not like going to meet me somewhere. Like if someone says, "Oh, my car broke down, and I went to get gas, and I usually don't get unleaded." Oh yeah, whatever. I mean, and they just give way too much information about why they can't meet me. I'm like, you are so full of shit.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. That is definitely a tell. And honestly, in most cases, the truth comes out immediately because that's the most important part, right? Like it just comes out. However it comes out is however it comes out. But the truth usually, and if there's no issue with the truth, it usually comes out right away. So all those extra things, like, I had to stop at Starbucks and they did my latte wrong, or, my cousin called and then, I dropped my keys in the sewer just to get to the point where I didn't meet you. Right.
Yeah, right.
It already sounds crazy. You don't need to be an expert to realize, hey, you're not telling the truth.
So I want to ask about Rent. I was
Sure.
listening to it yesterday, and I get to your song because I knew you were coming on. So I get to live in my house, and your voice is so amazing. How much of that were you born with, and how much of that is training and practice and all that stuff?
I mean, I was certainly able to sing when I was a kid. I think everybody could sing as a kid. Nobody stops children from singing. The only thing that keeps kids from singing is somebody who eventually tells them that they're not good at it, and then they stop, which I don't think is a great idea. But I was lucky to be what I consider be part of what I consider the heyday of public schools when, extracurricular activities were abundant. And I had, my mom was very good at getting me into performing arts programs, and in most cases, performing arts focused schools. So I learned that I could sing for public consumption quite early. And there was a moment in my youth when I was doing a show for my first year in high school and I lost my voice. And because I was in a performing arts high school, we had teachers who were able to help me with my voice. And, we studied these things that normally you wouldn't get to till you're in a university program. We were studying them in high school, and it helped me save my voice and also helped me sing in a way that I'd never sung before. Yes, I could sing before, but can you do it 8 times a week on Broadway without completely losing your voice? And can you expand your range? Because Rent is kind of a crazy range for almost everybody involved, including myself. Like you just said, live in my house. That starts very, very low. It's kind of like the national anthem. If you start too high, by the time you get to the end, you're going to be way off.
Believe it or not, I have sung the national anthem at multiple sporting events. And the big thing is, if you start too high, you are screwed.
Let me tell you something. I sang once at a sporting event, and it was a cappella, which I thought, oh, this is the easiest way to do it because, however I start, whatever pitch I start on, it's going to be fine. So I started the song, oh, and then I realized I was too high.
Yeah.
And I was like, my God. And I just go, oh, say. I saved myself at that moment, but the panic I felt through the entire song was crazy talk. That was a long way to get back to Rent, but
yeah.
So you were talking about protecting your voice.
Sure.
You do so many shows, and I don't know, like how many years did you do the show?
Red, all in total about almost 3 years.
So when you're singing that much, what is the process of protecting your voice?
When we first started, the process was somehow you got the nerve to get up there and do it anyway. But eventually you start learning things from all the Broadway professionals, really, where you probably wanted to stay away from any kind of dairy because it creates a lot of mucus in the voice. So you didn't do those. And then some other weird tricks, like I can't remember who came up with this, but it was an actual music professional who, when they went into the studio to record, if their voice was kind of raspy or off, they would eat original Lay's potato chips. This is not an endorsement, but original Lay's potato chips, because whatever the oil is on those chips lubricated the voice in a way that absolutely helped almost immediately. But the show was hard. It's almost 3 hours of singing, mostly at the top of your voice. And sometimes it was through the grace of our stars, God, Buddha, Baby Yoda, everybody, that we actually got through it, right? And you're also standing there with some singing beasts. Like in the show, there's a song, Seasons of Love, which I'm sure a lot of people know. Even if they don't know the show, they probably know that song. In the show, we're standing in a line, we're singing that song. And I'm standing right next to Idina Menzel. I mean, come on. That girl can blow. And even on the days when Idina said her voice wasn't up to par, it would scare the hell out of us when she started singing, because you're like, how is that off? Like, that's not off. Like, you're actually singing better than ever. So you kind of push yourself to stay on that level if you can.
So I want to hit you with something. I'm going to hit you with something emotional. We've had Adam Pascal on the show. We've had Anthony Rapp on the show. Yeah,
one of my favorite people on the planet.
I'm chasing everybody from the original cast of Rent to be on the show at some point.
That's awesome.
But there was this night when Jonathan Larson passed away, and you guys were about to go on stage. And was it the first Broadway performance? Is that?
No, it was, we were at the New York Theater Workshop at the time. And it was, it happened the night before our first preview. Like, so we were meant to have a preview, and this preview was, there's a tradition in some theater companies in New York City where the first preview is for like friends and family. So all your actor friends get to come and see it. Your family gets to come and see it. And it's just the first time we're doing a show on stage. And of course, Jonathan passed away the night before. We all received phone calls the following morning, which was absolutely terrifying. I couldn't imagine why Jim Nicola, who was running the New York Theater Workshop at the time, would call me that early in the morning. The insecure actor in me was like, oh God, I'm getting fired. And then he told us what happened, and he said, we're not sure what we're going to do, but everybody's gathering at the theater as soon as they can possibly get there. So of course we all ran to New York Theater Workshop. It was honestly one of the saddest things ever, because we would sit there, all of us were just sitting there in shock for a really long time. We got a brief explanation as to what they believed happened. And then we sat, and there was obviously a lot of crying and lamenting about what had happened. And eventually the talk of what we're going to do, because we were meant to have a preview that night, and they decided that because friends and family were coming, including Jonathan's family, his mom, his dad, his sister, his nephews were coming, and I think they had been in contact with his parents and his sister. They said that you should continue as a tribute and a memorial to Jonathan. And I think something in that, there was a decision made for it to be a little less performative and a little bit more reverent. So we were going to just do sort of a sing through. And it was funny because if you've seen the show, we have these metal tables that get moved all over the place and become different sorts of platforms and things like that. And so there we were at New York Theater Workshop, and they took all the metal tables that we had and they put them in a long line as if we were in some sort of conference, which is really funny. Like, there were pitchers of water on the table, and for whatever reason, notepads. I don't know why that happened, but there were notepads on the table as if we were doing a conference. Now, when our audience showed up, there were so many people that I'm sure that we were violating some sort of fire code, because there were people in the aisles, and the house in New York at New York Theater Workshop isn't that big, but there were people everywhere, and we knew every face there, whether they were Jonathan's family or friends or our family and friends. A lot of big people in theater. So we sat at these tables and we started to sing the show. Now, everybody's, in, very states of mourning and grief. And so it was very difficult to start singing, but we did. We started singing. We're sitting at these tables, and there's a point in the show right before the end of the end of the first act, where we sang a song called 𝐈𝐧𝐭𝐫𝐬𝐬𝐞, where we're all sitting at a table, just like the one we're at a place called the Life Cafe. And Anthony Rapp, who plays Mark in the show, decides to get up on the table and, do the song. That's what happens in the real show. Right. At the time, we were all sitting at this table, and out of nowhere, Anthony just decided to get up, step on the table. So we start moving all the pitchers of water and the notepads and the pencils that were there. And we're like, oh my God, Anthony's actually doing the show right now. And so we just followed suit with him and started doing the number as it was originally meant to be shown. Mm. And at the end, it's Viva la 𝐕𝐵𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻, and that's the end of the first act. And the whole crowd went absolutely bananas. And there was suddenly this release, because you're holding all this grief. A lot of it was in, our singing voices. You're holding all this grief. And it was suddenly a big release for everybody in the room. And they went absolutely nuts. And they were just screaming and hollering, and it went on forever. And then eventually we go backstage to get ready to do the second act. And our director, Michael Greif, comes backstage. He goes, put on your costumes. We're going to do the second act the way it's meant to be done. And so we came out for the second act. And it was amazing because we walk out for the second act, and it's the start of Seasons of Love. Before we even sang a note, they stood up and they just applauded. It was, God, I'm getting teary-eyed a little bit. It had to be like 10, 15 minutes of just applause before we even sang the song. And then, of course, there's the one of the sadder moments in the show when, my character's partner dies, and we have a memorial service for Angel. And I have to sing the song that you started singing.
Live in my house.
Exactly. And obviously, I was singing to Jonathan. Everybody on stage was singing to Jonathan. People in the audience who even knew the music was singing. And from the saddest moment I could ever think of, became the most joyous thing I've ever been a part of. So, I don't know how many chances you get in the world of performance and particularly theater to do something that profound and long lasting. But I'm really grateful that I got to be one of those people there.
Yeah.
So, you met Jonathan at the Moondance Diner. You worked together. You were waiters, right?
I did your research.
So, did you know that he was writing this masterpiece while you were working with him? Did he share any of this with you?
No. Well, first of all, I got a job at the Moondance Diner as a waiter. And I had to work for, I think it was almost 2 weeks before I was put on the schedule. I had to train. Right? It's a small space, so there wasn't really a whole lot of training to do. But I had to train. And Jonathan was there almost all the time. I think he might have even been in a managerial position, or at least the one guy in the room who knew what to do. And he was training me. And at one point, right at the beginning of training, he asked me what I did. And I think I had a little bit of shame in my voice because, here I am, an actor in New York City, but I'm actually waiting tables. So I felt a little funny about, saying what I actually am. I'm like, I'm an actor, but obviously I'm waiting tables. And he was like, you should have a little bit more pride in what you do. And I was like, wow, okay. And I asked him what he did. And he said he was a composer. And I said, oh. And I didn't ask any more questions. Just carried on, working in the restaurant. And I ended up getting a job on a then TV show called New York Undercover. So I had finished my training at Moondance and was about to go onto the schedule, but then I just quit because I got this job. And don't worry, as soon as that job was over, I went and waited table somewhere else, New York actor. But I quit. And then a couple of years later, I end up in a room at New York Theater Workshop auditioning for Rent. And I see Jonathan, who's sitting there with the director and our music director, Tim Weil. And he looked familiar, but it didn't click at all. And so, long story short, I end up getting a role in the show, and we're in rehearsals. In a week into rehearsals, there's one point where Jonathan comes running into rehearsal really late. And it's a funny thing to say, but I smelled him before he came in the room. And it smelled like Moondance Diner. Because Moondance was well known for their coffee. And they put cinnamon in their coffee. And so it's the first thing you smelled. If you got anywhere near the front door of Moondance Theater, I'm sorry, theater, that'd be amazing, actually.
Yeah.
The diner, you smelled that coffee. And so I smelled that coffee right before Jonathan walked in the room. And of course, he walked in the room and he had these dirty Converse sneakers that I remember him wearing. And he had a Moondance Diner t-shirt on. And I go, oh my God, that's how I know you. He said, wait, did you train to be a waiter at Moondance? I was like, yeah. Oh my God, how do we not figure that out? I was like, I guess it was a long time ago, and certainly something that I wanted to forget because I wanted to act. I didn't want to wait tables. But yeah, that's the big story.
Wow.
Of me working with Jonathan at Moondance.
See, I just wanted to share with you real quick.
Sure.
I worked at a diner. I was early days of being a stand-up comedian. I couldn't make a living just being a stand-up, so I worked at some diner in New Jersey, and I lied my way in, and I said that they asked if I ever waitressed. I said, well, I worked in fine dining. Just lied about it because diner serving is completely different. So I worked behind the counter my first day, and I had to make a milkshake. And I never made one before, and I didn't want to ask anybody. I figured, well, how hard is it? You just put it in the machine, whatever. So I had the metal container, and I took it. As I took it out, the blades got caught on the container, and strawberry milkshake went all over everybody sitting at the counter. It was like spin art. And I couldn't believe the guy didn't fire me. I mean, I was like Lucy. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm wiping everybody's face with a rag.
How long have you been at that point?
It was my first day.
It was your first day.
Yes.
That's good start. Good start. Hey, last thing I want to ask you, go back to the Irrational for a minute.
Sure.
I'm wondering if you ever look at yourself. Like, have you had any personal insights about your own decision-making and your own thoughts? Like IRL, in real life, as the kids like to say. Yeah. Does any of this translate?
Absolutely. I mean, and I'm also more aware of it now because of my present job. But there are certainly times where I censor my behavior because I tend to give away too much, if you will. Mm-hmm. And look, I don't even want to be the guy that's sitting around censoring his behavior for any reason. I want to feel like in my real life, I'm free to be you and me, and I can do whatever I want to and say it how I feel like saying it, express myself the way I want to express myself. But because I'm in this world and, I'm not your method guy who can't turn it off when I get home. I certainly can, but it does live with you. The work lives with you, particularly if you have to do homework to go back and again the next day. So there's times when I'm analyzing myself, which probably isn't a good thing in real life. I probably shouldn't be analyzing myself so much, but I absolutely can't help it. And I'm wondering, since you asked, in real life, if the people that I love and care for every day notice it, and is it rubbing off on them in any way, shape, or form? Like, he may be looking at my behavior and seeing things, and now do I have to change my behavior? It's something I probably should ask now that we're talking out loud.
Yes.
Like, I would like to ask them, like, does my behavior change when I'm doing this? Or do you feel like you have to change your behavior because you think I'm seeing it in a certain way? It's probably something to ask.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a question that gets answered every Tuesday night at 10 o'clock on NBC.
Well done.
And all episodes are streaming on Peacock right now. Great to get a few minutes with you. Love the Irrational, and obviously huge fan. Thanks a lot for coming on, man.
Thank you so much, guys. This was awesome.
There you have it. Jesse L. Martin joining us. So we got a little birthday party, got a little White Lotus, got a little J-Lo, and finally get a little Jesse L. Martin.
He's a cool guy.
He is a cool guy. Now, I did this, so I'm going to do this now. So he sings what I think is my favorite song in Rent, which is 1,000 Kisses. So, and I did it a little bit I didn't want to do the whole thing, but here we go. Ready? Live in my house, I'll be your shelter. Just pay me back with 1,000 kisses. Be my lover, and I'll cover you. That's how it goes. What do you think?
Oh, what? Did you say something? Did you sing something?
I want to be on Broadway so bad. Every time we have somebody that's been on Broadway on the show, I'm always like, God, that must be crazy to be able to sing like that.
And every time we have someone from Broadway on, you sing.
Correct, I do.
Which I think kind of ruins your chances of being on Broadway.
Right. The moment I open my mouth, it's kind of over, isn't it? There you have it. There is your Culture Pop podcast, including a little music at the end. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. And we will see you next time on the Culture Pop podcast.